If you are struggling to make money in 6-card PLO, it's because you are making some fundamental mistakes that can often be fixed pretty easily. Today I'll show you 3 easy to fix leaks that once addressed will immediately improve your results, making 6-card PLO almost feel like a solved game. And for anyone out there who thinks equities run too close, let me show you proof. Here are my results from 6-card, where I recently surpassed $100,000 in EV profit playing 6-max games. Here's also proof from one of my students who made over $10,000 in his second month of our collaboration. Now, with that out of the way, let's start with the most common mistake that literally destroys your win rate. We are on a small blind facing a button open with double suited aces. If your standard play here is to 3-bet, well, this might be why you are not able to beat the game. Although 2 nut suit are still quite strong, the rest of the cards are very disconnected, making it very difficult to play post-flop in a deeper SPR, especially facing multiple players out of position. The issue with the hand is that it lacks any meaningful connectivity, which results in only making bare nut flush draws. And if you played 6-card for a while, you know that bare nut flush draw isn't a super strong hand because of the abundance of sets and 2 pairs. We are also playing 140 big blind deep, which means we are not able to pot flop c-bet frequently and are forced to check instead. On the other hand, the advantage of flatting is that when the big blind decides to squeeze, we find ourselves in a great spot, as now we can effectively reduce the flop SPR and stack off on most of boards. To further illustrate the point, let's examine a similar hand. In this hand, imagine the flop SPR when we are facing 2 limpers after ISO raising our disconnected aces. It would be even higher than in the previous hand, and if you consider various flop scenarios and how difficult it is to play this hand even when flopping a nut flush draw, it is a clear flat. For this hand to be a good ISO raise, we need improved connectivity. For example, if you replace the 5 and 2 with, let's say, an 8 or 6, we are already in much better position as we can flop many straight draws in addition to our nut flush draw. It's a subtle adjustment, but this is what 6-card PLO is all about. And again, if we overlimp and face a big blind ISO raise, we are in a dream spot as the limpers are unlikely to fold, allowing us to effectively reduce the SPR to 1, which is a very juicy spot, as opposed to raising and arriving 4-way at a flop out of position in an SPR of 7, where we are so unhappy to stack off against so many sets and 2 pairs. A quick announcement: if you want to start making $10 to $20K per month and finally achieve financial freedom, I am reopening my mentorship program designed to produce players who have truly made it in poker. There are only 8 spots left, which are likely to fill quickly, so don't let this slip out of your hands. I've added the link in the description if you want to learn more about it. So now let's get back to the video. In the next hand, we are playing a juicy 10-20 table, and I decided to lead out on the flop since my range connects well with it. The villain calls, and the 3 of hearts on the turn adds more outs to my hand with a low rub. I have clear barrel with this high equity hand, as many river cards will give me the nuts. But this time we somehow miss all our outs. So should we check? Wrong. If we consider the type of hands the button could have called twice on this super volatile board, it's mostly draws. Holding all the diamonds and the rub makes it almost impossible for the button to call twice without a hard flush draw. On top of it, our range is full house heavy. We would lead and barrel with top 2 and sets. This makes our hand the perfect candidate for a bluff. Bluffs are much harder to find in 6-card PLO, and bluffing feels less intuitive, which means players tend to underbluff. But it also means they respect big bets on certain board textures. So don't pass on a bluffing opportunity because people generally don't overfold every spot. If you feel like you can't gain an edge in the game, this next hand might provide some answer. We flop a nut flush draw with a wrap, and if you've been playing 6-card PLO for a while, you know this is a monster hand. Many cards bring us the nuts. We bet into 5 players, expecting weaker opponents to commit with much weaker hands. We get 1 player and he shows a middle set. Try to pause the video and guess how much equity the player actually has. If you guessed under 35%, you would be correct. We are totally dominating his hand. The way the game works is that what your hand becomes on the river is much more important than your current hand strength. In this particular situation, his hand is especially weak because he's holding some of his own outs, skewing the deck in favor of my draw outs. And since there are less cards left in the deck compared to, say, no limit hold'em, the chance of hitting an out increases. This means that outs are worth more. The last hand is a bonus hand that I prepared, and I want to know how would you play if you were in my shoes. We are playing 10-20 again, and aggressive player didn't 3-bet c-bet this very strong flop for him, suggesting it's a strong hand that doesn't need protection. Something like weak ace or kings, or of course the nuts, aces or ace king. Against this range we are clearly behind, so I check back twice. When he block bets on the river, I figured that the full house is the best hand, so naturally I raise. To my surprise, he rejams, and I immediately regret my decision. This isn't a spot where people usually bluff. How many ace-king does he really play this way? What are his possible bluffs? Would he even be capable of turning kings or a weak ace into a bluff raise? My mind races as the time bank runs low. Eventually, I conclude that he's more likely to play kings this way than ace-king. He might even be doing this with bear trips, and he has a lot of hands like this, so I go for it. He shows trips, and I'm very happy with my call, especially since my initial instinct was to fold. Sometimes we just need to take a second to really think things through. And that concludes today's video. Don't forget to check out the mentorship program, and see you next time.